Okay, in this episode of Getting to Know Illustrator, we are going to learn about the Pathfinder panel, which is one of my favorite panels. I just think that it is useful and interesting and easy, and so we're going to do that today. Pathfinder panel, again, I have mine over here, but you can find it in the window. Let me get off of my color here. Let's do window and then down here to Pathfinder. Now, it's already open for me or already added to my toolbar, but if you didn't have it, this is where you would go. You would click on this and it would show up. Now it's over here. I'm going to pull that apart so that I have it, and I'm going to open it so that I have it to work with while we're discussing this. Okay, I'm going to make, I'd like you to follow along with me and make the same thing. I'm going to go to my ellipse tool. I'm holding down shift and I am making a circle. And then I'm going to move that just a little bit. And I'm using a red. Kind of pick a Highland Park red, okay? So I'm using a circle, got my red. I am holding down Alt. See, I'm still on black arrow. Holding down Alt and click and drag to make that duplicate. And then Command D, 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 D. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I would prefer to have 10. Let's go ahead, and I've selected these all with the black arrow. I'm holding Alt and Shift. I'm going to bring those down just a little more, move it up, and go back to 1, selecting 1, Alt, click and drag, and then Command D, and I've got 2 more. Okay, so now I've got 10 of my red Highland Park circles right here. So I'm going to make these, let's go back, Shift, and make them just a little bit bigger. And there we go. And it didn't distort them, but it made them larger. Now, we can even move those more over to the center of the page. I'm going to select all of these again. I'm holding Alt, and I'm going to click and drag, and I'm making a green row here. So I've duplicated that. Now, while it's still selected, I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to get a Highland Park green. Okay, so now we've got our red and our green. And actually, I'm going to take that one step further. Excuse me. I'm going to take that one step further, and I'm going to grab my green row or column. I'm holding Shift so that it will go, Shift so that it will go straight. No need to hold Shift. I apologize. I'm going to select all my greens, and I'm going to slide them back over so that they overlap slightly with the red. Okay, now with that in mind, you're going to take your Pathfinder panel, and we're going to apply these 10 effects to the Pathfinder, to the shapes that we've created. 10 Pathfinder effects, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to apply them to this. Okay, now, I also, as we we're also going to talk about text, because we're going to add a label to what we do here. So follow along. This first one is called Unite, okay? It's going to unite the shapes. So we're going to come over here to the black arrow. We're going to select both of the circles, and I'm going to click Unite. Now, what happened? Well, what happened was it took over the color that happened to be on top, which was green, and it combined the two shapes together into one shape. So these are now one cohesive shape, okay? Okay, going to the next one, black arrow, select these two. This is called minus front. So we're going to click minus front. What did it do? Well, it took the object that was in front and it deleted it along with any area where the front shape overlapped the back shape. So it leaves us with kind of a red moon shape. Okay? Black arrow again. The third one. We're going to go to intersect, and we're going to click intersect. And what happened? We ended up with this like leaf shape, this eyeball shape, maybe you could say, upside down or on its side, that is just where the two shapes intersect. I'm going to hit Command Z, just where the two shapes intersect, so we can see that again, and that's all we're left with. And because green was on top, we are left with that shape in green and no red. Okay, back to black arrow, select these two. We're going to go to exclude. Now we're going to hit exclude, and it does the exact opposite. It omits, deletes the part that was overlapped, is completely gone, and instead the other two shapes remain. Not only do the other two shapes remain, but notice that it took on the color of the shape that again is in the foreground. So kind of the same concept here, and it did it here, and this didn't remain red. It took over and made both of them green. Okay? Now, these four are in a category where once you create this, these can be made into compound shapes, and they can be expanded. So I believe I should have hit expand before that, and we can address this more in a later video, but just understand that these shape modes are slightly different than the actual Pathfinder modes. Okay, so moving down here, we're going to go black arrow, we're going to go next, and then down here, this is divide. Notice I'm hovering over it, tells me the name. This is divide. I'm going to hit divide, and we see no change. So to us, it looks the same, and we're not seeing a difference. If I click on my white arrow or hit the letter A, which is what I hit, then I have an individual selections that I can make. And when it said divide, what it did was it separated all three of these into individual shapes. Okay? Individual shapes. So initially, it doesn't look like anything has taken place. It looks like here they are, they're all connected, but in fact, we have hit, back to black arrow, in fact, we have gone to divide, and back to white arrow with the A, and we have these three separate shapes. Okay, black arrow, select the next one, and this is going to be trim. Now, trim is this, let's see if we can't get that to show us what we've done there. We have trimmed the foreground shape, the shape on top. We have trimmed it away from the background shape. It is very much like our one up here, our minus front, our second one, but it didn't delete the green circle. It only trimmed the red and it left the green. So very similar to our first one, our divide, except it did not make a separate shape in the middle. It just got rid of it on the red. Okay, moving back to this one. After trim, we have merge. Merge is kind of tricky. There's not a lot of reason for merge. You get the same effect here when you go to the white arrow, but when you go to the black arrow, they're just two shapes that are connected. I don't use merge. If I were going to put two shapes connected, I would just group them, which is a less permanent solution and I think easier. So this one's kind of tricky. It's just kind of boring there. Okay, this next one is our crop. So I'm going to click that and we get crop. But notice, not only do we get crop, notice this circle remains and that red becomes the intersection. So it's the background color and the foreground shape. The shape is still there. We can still see that outline. Whereas up here, we don't see that outline. It's not showing up. Down here, it's showing up as soon as I scroll over it. It shows up as the path is still there. So that's slightly different than the intersect from the top row here. Okay, black arrow again. We come down here and select this one. This one's kind of silly. It's going to go to outline, which it does do an outline. And you can see, not only does it do an outline, but it's got a little bit of that color. So this one's kind of green and this one's kind of red. Haven't found a lot of reasons or uses for this yet, but there is an example of that. Okay, black arrow, and we're going to do the last one. The last one is minus back. So minus back gives us the green, and because it is in the foreground, but we have subtracted or minused everything that was in the background, which was red, and so that's how we end up with a green moon, as opposed to up here where we had the minus front and we got the red moon. So these are all the different Pathfinder options. I'm going to put my Pathfinder panel back over here. We're going to come over here and we're going to go to T for text or type. Okay, underneath type, there's lots of options. Right now, we're just going to focus on the traditional type tool, the first tool in the panel, and the quick key to this is T. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click and drag a box. In Illustrator, you will automatically get nonsense fill text. Okay, so this is just fill text, and all I do is hit delete. 12-point font's probably pretty good for me right now. It doesn't matter what type of font I'm on, or you could do any font you want. So I guess let's go over here and pick something wild and fun and silly. We can do that. Notice I've just clicked this down arrow. I have fonts that you do not have because I've installed a lot of fonts, but you can also install a lot of fonts, and we'll have a video on that as well. Let's go to beach. How about that? So inside of here, I'm going to click to type the word unite. Now it's very small, so I'm going to highlight that, make it bigger so I can definitely see it. And I pick unite, and I probably shouldn't have gotten rid of this just yet. Come back here. You should probably leave this open so you can recall which ones were which. So the first one was unite. Okay, now I'm going to actually, let's make this simple, and we're going to click and drag one for each row. I am only holding Alt, and actually now I can just hit Command D. Okay, and those are pretty evenly spaced. They look pretty good. The first one was, in fact, unite. I have to click on here and then click the letter T to go back to type so that I can edit it. My second one was minus front, so I'm going to type minus front. Okay, I'm going to click on here, highlight that. My next one was intersect, so I'm going to type intersect. My next one was exclude, E-X-C-L-U-D-E. My next one is going down to the next row. This is our divide. My next one was trim. My next one was merge, which is the least useful of the pathfinders. This one is crop. This one is outline. And my last one was minus back. Okay, so with all of those being entered, this is your assignment, and I need you to turn this in so that I can see you did the Pathfinder and that you used type to label it. Let's quickly talk again about type. So here's our type tool. Again, there's other ones below it. Right now we're focused on the main type tool. When you're in a text box, when you click a text box, you will automatically get fill text, and you can see already right there that one started with fill text, and we're just going to delete that. But when you're in font, you have choices, lots and lots of choices. Here's the fill color of the font. If you wanted the font to have a stroke, here's where you would do that. If that stroke you wanted it to be thicker or thinner, here is how you would do that. If you wanted the opacity of the word to be different, here is how you would do that. This is how you choose the character of the word, which means which font you want to use. I chose Beach Regular. There are literally thousands of fonts that we can choose from, but we've got Beach Regular for now. Beach Regular exists only in a regular font. If you had a condensed version, an italic, a bold, it would all live right under here in those choices, but in this one it's just regular. Now, here are other options, and we will dive more into these when we're typing multiple things, but you can dictate the distance between lines, you can dictate the distance between letters, you can dictate whether the line is thicker or thinner, whether it's all caps, small caps, superscript, subscript, underline, strike through, and the list goes on. So we will talk more about that as this semester continues. Over here is, of course, the size. So if I needed this to be bigger, but 49-point font tended to work well for that. So here's that option. You could choose a default, and you can even see it changing and kind of giving me a preview of that. I'm going to leave it at 49, so we're back to 49. You can also just type in here to make those changes by a number, but back to 49 for that. Paragraph. If I was typing lots of things, or let's say I really wanted to center this, then that's how I would do it. This is our left justified, our center, and our right justified. And I'm sure you're all familiar with that as it pertains to other word processing software. and that's an example of that. Now, we will get more into this, but this is a way you can warp the text. You can make changes to it there. And this is a way to align it. So if we were trying to align all of our selections, we can go here, and we've aligned our selections. We've got them all aligned to the left. We could then change these boxes, and you can see it can get kind of crazy. There's all kinds of options here to do that. I'm going to Command Z out of that. So there's different ways to deal with font, and then this is where it lives on the XY axes and how that works, and we'll talk more about that. And this is a ratio, the proportion of the font. So this is your Pathfinder panel, and this is how to get started with font or type. And I'd like for you to save this. When you're saving your work, it's imperative that you understand how to save your work, and that is by going to File, Save As. Please always choose Save As, then you won't overwrite anything you've done previously in error. And you should always use your last name, comma, space, your first name, and the number of the assignment. For this instance, the number of the assignment is #1, but please check based on what semester you are in class as to what number of assignment this is, because that could have changed. There's 3 things to remember when you're saving a document: the title of the document, the destination of the document, where will it be saved, and the file format. This little arrow right here opens up more choices in saving your document, and it's always good to have that expanded. So title, destination, file format. Right here is my title, my last name, comma, first name, #1.ai, which is automatically there because it is an Adobe Illustrator file. And then down here, but if I took that away, it's still an Adobe Illustrator file. If I put in something different, I'm going to corrupt the file. So it is important to leave it as it was default, which is an Adobe Illustrator file. Down here, I want to put it on my desktop. So it's important that you put it on your desktop, and furthermore that you put it in your folder. So desktop, and then in your folder that belongs to you is where you should be saving your work on your desktop initially. So we're saving our work in our own folder, and then we're hitting OK. Okay, I also should have already been connected, but I was not. So you should be connected. So I'm connecting to our server, and then I'm minimizing that. The second save, every document gets a second save, File, Save As. And now it's the same title, which is good. Instead of going to the desktop, I'm sending it to our Mac server at the district. And we're gonna go Art, and you're gonna go Graphic Design, and you're gonna put it in your folder within that class, and it is still an Adobe Illustrator file, and you hit Save. Now I have it saved in our cloud storage, so the teacher can grade it. You got to save it there so I can grade it. And I also have it saved here on my desktop, so if for whatever reason the server has a problem or things get messed up there, then I've got a local copy and a cloud storage copy. So you should always have that. And again, this would go into your folder that has your last name, comma, first name. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful on how to use the Pathfinder, how to use font, and how to save a document. We will talk more soon. Thank you.